The stars drifted slowly past the wide viewport, but Commander Virex Thorn wasn't looking at them. He leaned against the railing of his observation deck, arms folded, eyes half-lidded with boredom as another human colony burned below. "Status?" he asked, voice silk-wrapped steel. "Resistance is negligible," came the reply from a junior officer, her voice clipped and efficient. 12,000 organics neutralized. No energy signatures remain. Virex sighed. A tragic loss. All that biomass, wasted on incompetence. Around him, the bridge of the Sundiver hummed with the practiced cold of an empire that no longer knew the taste of challenge. The Orandi Dominion had swept through human systems like a surgical knife. Virex had lost interest after the Third World fell without a single orbital defense firing back. These were supposed to be the defiant ones, the wild ones. But they died like everything else, quickly, quietly, forgettably. He turned from the viewport, pausing to admire his own reflection in the glass. Smooth silver-gray armor, ornamental but functional. Eyes engineered to read thermal decay from orbit. A face designed for authority with no room for doubt. "Commander," the tactical officer said, trying to suppress a grin. "New transmission." It scrambled, but routed through 3 pre-collapse beacons. Human design. Now that was unusual. "Play it," Virex said. Static filled the air, then. A voice. Distorted. Male. "Desperate, maybe, or pretending to be. They're coming for me. If anyone's listening, I made it off Earth with the codes. I'm hiding on Solace 9. They won't find me there. The ice, it confuses their scans. Please." "I can't." The message cut. "Solace 9? Virex repeated, amused. That system was blacklisted centuries ago. Environmental hazard rating 9.4. Temperatures unstable. Rotational drift. No strategic value. "Still," said the junior officer, eyes flicking across her console, "there's activity. Thermal flares. Not natural." A pause stretched between them, taut and humming. Virex smiled. A scavenger with stolen tech. Or a rat with delusions of grandeur. He straightened, snapping fingers. "Prep an extraction squad. Send the Blackfangs, quiet entry, full gear. If the Fugitive truly has code access from Earth Command, I want it unspoiled." "And the Fugitive himself? If he's alive, bring him to me. If he's not," Virex shrugged. "Recover the brain. The tech's the prize, not the meat." He turned away again, already moving toward his quarters. Behind him, the bridge buzzed into controlled chaos. Solace 9, forgotten by most, had just become the most important piece on the board. Solace 9 looked dead from orbit. White storms crawled endlessly over its fractured ice crust. The sunlight that hit it refracted into spectral flares, making sensor calibration nearly impossible. Only thin ribbons of ocean broke the monotony, surrounding a single, jagged island that jutted up like a broken tooth from the world's frozen gums. The landing was rough. Black Fang operative Nura landed first, her boots crunching into the frost with a hiss of compressed heat. Behind her, 7 others deployed in a tight perimeter, weapons raised, visors scanning. "We're down." "No contact," she murmured, her voice fed live to Virex's command channel. "Proceed," Virex replied. "And do remember, he may not be alone." She didn't respond. She never did when annoyed. Virex found it oddly charming. The squad moved up the ridge, visors flickering with brief flashes, thermal ghosts quickly vanishing. At first they assumed interference. Then they realized it wasn't. Nura froze mid-step, eyes narrowing. A figure stood in the snow, maybe 50 meters ahead. Not hiding. Just waiting. Thin, wrapped in ragged thermal gear. Masked face. Barely armed. The Fugitive. "Target in sight," Nura said. The man raised his hands slowly, no weapons visible. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. "It took you longer than I thought," he said, voice calm beneath the distortion of his breath mask. "On your knees," Nura barked. "Hands behind your head." He complied, slowly. But the grin remained. You really think I ran here? He asked. She didn't answer. Two operatives moved to restrain him. The ice beneath their feet creaked, louder than it should. The snow shifted, subtly, unnaturally. Nura blinked, pulling up her HUD. Wait. Ground compositions. The mountain roared. The sound was low and deep, like tectonic plates groaning. Then it began to move. From beneath the snow, ancient metal arms unfolded, turrets, long dormant and cloaked until now. Drones burst upward, wings slicing snow and air. Beams of light lanced outward, carving clean lines through two of her squad. Nura Dove, her visor flashing red. Ambush! Ambush! We're... The signal cut. On the Sundiver, Virex stared in silence. His screen showed a blooming storm of fire and energy. Operative vitals flatlined, one after another. Then nothing. Total blackout. Commander, a technician stammered, we're locked out of all satellite feeds. Long-range scans just dropped. We can't see the surface. Not even thermal shadows. Another screen flickered to life on its own. Not theirs. A broadcast override. A human face filled it. Middle-aged, gray streaks in her hair, expression unreadable. Commander Elin Rua, last seen defending Mars Station before it went dark. I assume you're watching, she said quietly. Virex stiffened. You thought you were tracking a fugitive. You weren't. You were chasing a signal we sent. Solace 9 isn't a refuge. It's a weapon. The screen distorted slightly, then snapped to an orbital map. Beacons flared around multiple Orandi systems, previously thought inactive. You call it primitive, she continued. We call it premeditated. Rua leaned in, just slightly. You weren't hunting prey. You walked into the opening move. The screen went dark. No one on the Sundiver spoke. For the first time in his career, Virex Thorn felt a sensation unfamiliar to him. Unease. He stood slowly, each step deliberate, as if testing gravity for flaws. Recall every scout ship in the system, he ordered. Full spectrum silence. Scramble wormhole diagnostics and prepare for full fleet withdrawal. A lieutenant opened his mouth, then closed it. Too late. Another screen lit up, this time showing a ripple in space near the ship's flank. Wormhole interference patterns. Something was coming. Not broadcasting, not signaling. Just moving. Silent. Calculated. Virex exhaled. They're not attacking, he muttered. They're demonstrating. The bridge fell to a hush. Below them, Solace 9 returned to its frozen stillness, smoke rising faintly from shattered snowdrifts. A single black flag fluttered from the peak of the mountain, barely visible, but very much there. The Dominion had found the fugitive, and the island had been waiting. Silence reigned in the war chamber of the Orandi Dominion. Hollow projections flickered across the obsidian walls, data streams of recent losses, scrambled feeds from Solace 9, incomplete schematics of Earth's hidden defenses. But none of it made sense. None of it matched the narrative they had grown used to. Humans were backward, emotional, fractured. Easy to dissect, easy to dominate. High Archon Maverick stared at the empty air, as if he could will understanding into it. He had ruled for 4 cycles with an iron elegance, his decisions calculated, merciless, clean. Yet now, each data point unraveled beneath him like rot hidden beneath polished steel. What do we actually know? He asked at last, voice sharper than the sterile air. Silence. Then, the fleet at Solace 9 is presumed lost, said strategist Kivin, eyes still scanning his ARM console. Only Thorn's flagship escaped full system disruption. 17 warships disabled. All recon units gone. Gone how? Maverick pressed. Kivin hesitated. There were no thermal traces of energy weapons. No debris consistent with high-yield impact. It was controlled. As if the humans knew exactly where to strike. Impossible, muttered General Terras, the oldest among them. They don't have that kind of predictive AI. Not even rudimentary quantum foresight. Kivin raised an eyebrow. They didn't. Now, we aren't sure. Maverick turned away, pacing in slow, measured step. You're telling me they lured our best hunter to a frozen grave with false intel, slaughtered an elite unit, hijacked our orbital grid, and vanished without leaving a fingerprint? No one answered. Because yes. That's exactly what had happened. It had been a mistake. A costly, arrogant one. They had thought they were dealing with scattered tribes. But Earth had baited them, and the bait had teeth. Maverick stopped before the central dais, where a hologram of Earth's moon hovered. And what of Thorn? Alive, Kivin said. Silent since re-entry. But his logs transmitted fragments. They show signs of psychological disturbance. Maverick frowned. Disturbance. Kivin brought up a clip. Virex Thorn's face appeared, drenched in sweat, blood crusted at his temple, eyes wide with something dangerously close to panic. Behind him, sirens wailed and lights flickered. They knew our cadence, Thorn was saying, voice shaking. Not just our tech, our behavior. Our timings. They studied us, trained against us. We're predictable. They aren't. A pause. They're not fighting for revenge. They're not even angry. They're focused. The clip ended. For the first time, Maverick allowed his own unease to surface. Not fear. He didn't allow that emotion. But a shift, a recognition of something buried and rising. Something old. Humans had always been chaos. But this was engineered chaos. Precision hidden in noise. Show me their history, he said. Terra's blinked. History? Yes, Maverick said slowly. You all think like tacticians. I want to think like them. Show me their wars. There was a pause. Then Kivin tapped a few commands, and the room darkened. Earth's past unfolded in brutal color, trench warfare soaked in mud and blood, nuclear firestorms over cities, space battles over Martian colonies, guerrilla uprisings, viral sabotage, generations consuming themselves to gain mere inches. One particular sequence caught Maverick's attention. They sacrificed an entire fleet here, Kivin narrated, to draw the enemy into a debris field seeded with mines. Lost 60% of their forces, but won the campaign. Maverick watched as those same humans, battered and bleeding, cheered as if victory had come at no cost. They don't fear death, he murmured. They weaponize it, Terra's corrected. The room fell into a heavy hush. Then Maverick looked up. Prepare a council vote. I will propose diplomatic measures. The others turned sharply. Peace? Kivin asked, incredulous. An opening, Maverick said. We underestimated them once. We will not again. We need time. To adapt. To restructure. And if they reject it? Maverick smiled. But it wasn't warm. Then we remind them we are still an empire. Deep in orbit around Solace 9, Virex Thorn stood alone in the medical bay, the lights dimmed to a soft sterile glow. His injuries had been treated. His wounds closed. But something inside remained open, humming with unease. The recording they had sent him played again on loop. Elin Rua's face. Her voice. Calm. Clinical. You're not the apex predators anymore, she'd said. You're prey in a new jungle. He couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Every protocol drilled into him since command school now rang hollow. His elite squad, the Black Fangs, were gone. Each had trusted him, followed him. They died before understanding they were already inside a trap. He replayed the last few seconds of their feed. The moment the ice split open beneath Nura's feet, revealing not geology, but architecture. Not a mountain, but a disguised fortress, older than the war itself. He hadn't reported that detail to High Command. Not yet. Because something told him they already knew. The door behind him hissed open. A medical drone floated in, scanning silently. I'm not broken, he told it. The drone chirped. You're wrong, he said, glaring at it. I'm not afraid. I'm thinking. That's different. The drone hovered for a moment longer, then turned and floated away. Thorn walked to the viewport. The ice planet was no longer visible. They were back in deep drift, away from the warfront. He wondered if that had been the plan all along. Let them live. Let them tell the story. A calculated mercy. Back on Earth, beneath the surface of what appeared to be a ruined city, Commander Elin Rua stood in front of a glass map that spanned 3 walls. Colored strands of light represented the Orandai fleet movement. Hidden nodes marked Solace-class decoys, bunkers, buried slipgates. "You think they'll take the bait again?" asked Captain Imani, arms folded. Rua didn't look up. "They already have," she replied. "Mavrek will stall. Feign interest in diplomacy. Send probes. Maybe an ambassador. But they're too proud to admit fear. And Thorn." Rua finally turned. "He'll talk. Eventually. Even if he doesn't want to." Imani raised an eyebrow. "You think he's turned?" "No," Rua said quietly. "But he's seen something his empire told him couldn't exist. That doubt, it spreads. One seed at a time." She tapped a sequence on the console. A new region of the map lit up, dozens of dormant Orandai systems, each marked by human-flagged anomalies. "They'll try to reinforce, predict, match us. But the real war won't be fought on front lines." Imani stepped closer. "Then where?" Rua looked at her. "In their minds." The lights dimmed. A signal had arrived. A message from Mavrek. "Peace terms," the AI read aloud. "Requesting ceasefire to negotiate mutual evacuation of fringe sectors. A formal meeting proposed at Neutral System Juno 3. Rua didn't blink. "Send confirmation," she said. "We'll attend. Armed." Subtly. As the signal transmitted, Rua turned to the black-paneled wall behind her. A single engraving had been cut into it, barely visible but unmistakable. A circle with 12 scars across it. The old symbol for Earth's forgotten defense project. Project Scorchwake. It had never been decommissioned. Only hidden. Waiting. And now the war was beginning to turn. The silence of Juno 3's orbit was surgical. The dead star at the system's core pulsed dimly, its light reduced to a ghostly glimmer against the void. Around it, shattered moons drifted like ancient bones, remnants of a war none of the attendees spoke of. A place once destroyed by ambition, now chosen for diplomacy. Commander Elin Rua stepped off the shuttle with her helmet under one arm, her uniform unadorned save for a single copper sigil above her heart. Not a rank, but a warning. Behind her, Captain Imani walked in lockstep, silent and alert, eyes scanning every angle. They knew this wasn't a peace summit. It was a test. Of nerves, of intent, of who would flinch first. The Orandai delegation arrived with theatrical restraint. 4 dignitaries, flanked by 2 honor guards in obsidian armor that absorbed light rather than reflected it. Leading them was High Archon Mavrek himself, taller than expected, every movement deliberate, as though his joints were carved from discipline. His gaze locked with Rua's instantly. There was no greeting, no formalities, just the kind of tension that grew between predators who sensed another set of teeth beneath the surface. Mavrek's voice was steady. "You came unaccompanied by warships." Rua smiled faintly. "You brought 2. Yours are just cloaked." A beat of silence passed. Then Mavrek inclined his head slightly, respect or acknowledgement of her awareness. Inside the chamber, a spherical platform hovered over the abyss of Juno 3's inner ring. Transparent walls shimmered faintly with anti-surveillance field. The table between them displayed no documents, no weapons. Only the star map of contested sectors. Mavrek placed a data cube on the map, projecting a revised border proposal. "We withdraw from Sector Theta 9. You allow safe passage through Verge Corridor. We share mining rights to Jaxie's belt." Rua didn't glance at the projection. Her eyes were fixed on him. "You're not here to share," she said. "You're here to delay." Imani shifted slightly behind her, but remained still. Mavrek's expression didn't flicker. "You presume much. You sent a fleet to our outer rim 3 days ago," Rua said calmly. "Disguised as a merchant convoy. We didn't fire. We let them see our satellites, our redirectors, our unmanned kill rings. They turned back. Maverick leaned forward slightly, folding his hands. A test. A mistake, Rua corrected. A pause. Then he smiled. It was slight, but real. So it's true, he said. Project Scorchwake exists. Rua said nothing. The silence confirmed what no words needed to. Maverick sat back, as though relaxing, though Rua sensed the tension in his neck, his shoulders. Not fear, but proximity to it. I studied your history, he said. You don't win wars through superiority. You win through inevitability. Rua's voice was quiet. And yet you still came. You're dangerous, Maverick admitted. But scattered. You unify only in crisis. That's your weakness. Maybe, she replied. But now we remember how. He looked at her for a long moment. If we offer surrender, partial terms, would your superiors accept? She gave him a long, still look. I am my superiors. This time, his jaw visibly tightened. A beat passed. Then he leaned forward. You could have killed Thorn. He was already dying, Rua said. We let him live. Why? So he could tell the story, she answered. The truth is more powerful coming from your own. Maverick rose, slowly. The table deactivated. Around them, the silence of the chamber grew deeper, as if even the void were listening. I was warned, he said, that humans would win not because they are stronger, but because they're willing to become monsters to stop one. Rua didn't move. We're not monsters. We're mirrors. Maverick paused. That may be worse. He turned. His entourage followed, boots silent on the alloy floor. As he reached the exit platform, he paused, just once. You'll regret mercy, he said. It gives hope to enemies too broken to deserve it. Rua watched him vanish into his shuttle's hold. The doors sealed with a hiss, and the cold drift returned. Imani stepped beside her. We just gave him the last clear chance to end it. Rua nodded. And he proved he won't. They walked back toward their vessel, the metal groaning beneath them. As they stepped aboard, the comms officer turned, face pale. New transmission. High priority. Silent relay. From where? Rua asked. Uncertain. It's bouncing off 6 ghost satellites. Play it. The holo activated. The image was grainy, distorted. But the voice was unmistakable. Virex Thorn. His face appeared half-lit, eyes bloodshot, jaw trembling. I found it, he said. The thing your people buried. Under the ice. It's not a weapon. It's older. I think it's alive. Imani looked to Rua, voice low. Is this a trick? But Rua was already stepping forward, eyes wide. Not with fear, but realization. Because she had always known Project Scorchwake wasn't just human technology. It was alien. Reverse-engineered. And maybe it had never belonged to either of them. The signal cracked into static. Rua stared at the dead feed. Send a drone fleet to frozen sector Theta immediately, she ordered. Code Black. No engagement. Just observation. And if we're not the only ones watching it? Imani asked. Rua's reply came without hesitation. Then we're already too late. The frozen island cracked open with a soundless roar, soundless only because no one was close enough to hear it and live. From orbit, the drone fleet recorded the seismic rupture in raw metrics, a deep fissure forming down the island's spine, venting plumes of violet gas and black crystal shards into the stratosphere. The ice, once kilometers thick, peeled back like skin retreating from flame. Inside Command Vessel Vigilant, orbiting on silent standby, Commander Elin Rua stood before a wall of data feeds that pulsed red with priority tags. Below them, the island was changing. Not warming, transforming. Composition analysis? She asked, barely above a whisper. Captain Imani responded, brow tight with focus. The ice is laced with structured carbon webbing. Not natural. Something's been growing in there. Coordinated architecture. We think it's a memory lattice. Rua didn't look away from the feed. A mind. Or a grave, Imani said grimly. Another rupture opened on the island's western flank, followed by a brief shimmer, then darkness. One drone lost. 2 more followed. No weapons discharge, reported the AI. Signal disruption consistent with resonance interference. Quantum-level disruption. Something's waking up, Imani said. Rua turned. Alert Earth Command. Full lockdown on outer colonies. Do not attempt retrieval. We don't extract. We contain. Message already sent, Imani confirmed. They've declared Watch Protocol Theta. This is officially above command. It's gone deep black. Rua's eyes narrowed. Then it's worse than we thought. She walked toward the side chamber, where Thorn, gaunt, pale, and strapped into a reinforced seat, watched the same data unfold on a private screen. His eyes didn't blink. He didn't move. But something in his posture had changed since his last transmission. There was no panic anymore. Just resignation. You knew, Rua said. I suspected, he replied, voice hoarse. But I didn't understand. Try me. He looked at her. This island, it's not part of your project Scorchwake. It's older. A seed. Planted before either of our civilizations learned to leave atmosphere. Planted by whom? I don't think who applies, Thorn murmured. More like what? Rua crossed her arms. Explain. There's a myth buried in our deep logs, Thorn said. A report dismissed as pre-contact madness. One of our surveyors swore he found a planet that shifted when observed. That terrain rearranged depending on species proximity. Every drone failed. Only live mines could get readings. Rua's voice was flat. We call that psychoresponsive terrain. It's not terrain, Thorn whispered. It's a design interface. Organic infrastructure. This island is one piece of it. A node. Your people must have found it during the early war. Buried it. Tried to study it. Rua said nothing. She didn't have to. You didn't build Scorchwake, Thorn said softly. You woke it. The room fell into an unnatural quiet. Even the lights seemed to dim. Rua finally spoke. We thought it was just advanced tech. We reverse-engineered it for orbital stealth, AI evolution, ghost drives. But we kept it fragmented. We never reassembled the source core. Too volatile. Too alive. Well, someone just did, Thorn said. And now it's remembering itself. A warning klaxon began to sound. Imani's voice crackled through the wall intercom. Commander, we've got movement. Subsurface. The island is broadcasting. To where? Rua asked. Every system we've ever mapped, Imani said. It's not just a signal. It's a map. A call. Rua turned back to Thorn. Is this an invasion? I don't know, he said, shoulders slumped. I think it's an invitation. Below them, the island's form was shifting. Structures rose from ice. Towers of black and silver filament, too tall for gravity, too thin for wind. They moved, not from engines but like thoughts materializing. Geometries that seemed to flex between dimensions. And at their center, a core spire. Rua watched, jaw clenched. It's building a relay. No, Thorn said. It's becoming one. The spire flared once, blinding, and then the signal went dead. All feeds cut. The silence returned, but this time, it felt like an eye had opened and was now watching. Rua and Imani met in the war room again, each movement tight with urgency. System scan confirms, Imani said. 173 dormant alien relics across 12 sectors just activated. Same signature. We're not looking at a single site. We're looking at a network, Rua finished. Her hand hovered above the global relay board, then tapped in a single command. Burn sigils. Across the map, human defense grids ignited, a protocol designed not for offense, but for total system lockdown. Ports shut. Trade halted. Civilian ships rerouted to quarantine zones. The human galaxy went dark in a coordinated silence. Maverick's face appeared in a new incoming transmission, unrequested. You're triggering defense lockdowns, he said. Explain. Rua didn't mince words. You remember that diplomatic island? The one you tracked us to? Yes. It wasn't ours. Maverick stared. Who does it belong to? Rua's voice was grave. No one left. He said nothing for a long time. His expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes did. The shift was small but definitive. What do you propose? He asked. Joint silence, Rua said. No more war. No more signals. No more movement. We sit. We listen. If they're waking up, they're listening for patterns. You want us to hide? I want us to survive. Maverick nodded once. Accepted. The line cut. Rua exhaled, tension leaving her body in increment. The war was over. But something much older had just begun. She stared at the frozen world on the map, once a battleground, now a beacon. No longer just waiting to be found. Now it was watching. And it would not be alone for long.